The perils of first glances and certainty. The perils of first glances and certainty. So I was sitting there in the kitchen having my morning coffee and breakfast when the thought came to me, seemingly out of nowhere. The camera is covered. The camera is covered. And I jolted into recognition when I realized what had just been revealed to me. You see, the camera on my computer had been broken for days, or so I thought. And I blamed this apparent malfunction on this beloved man, my husband, Bart. Because that's what we, or at least I, do. I point the finger. I look for some reason because I have to know what's going on. In that situation, my husband had recently installed a webcam on my computer. And I was sure that is why the camera on my computer didn't work. So when I had to move my laptop and was trying to take my yoga class and they kept saying, "Are you there?" I thought, oh, this man, stupid fool I am. Why do I let him work on my computer? Now, fortunately, those things I was saying were only in my head, but they were there nonetheless. And I think he picked up on them. So I had resigned myself to the fact that I no longer had a working camera on my laptop. And then I was there at breakfast that morning, and out of nowhere, I thought, or it came to me, the camera lens is covered. So I ran up to my home office, and I look at my laptop, and this little black doohickey thing I had bought to cover the lens was covering the lens, which is why my camera wasn't working. It had nothing to do with my husband or the webcam. And he's so happy I'm sharing this story with you right now. Because it's true. I was sure I knew what was going on. And I was sure it was someone else's fault. I came to a quick decision without all the facts. And it's a funny story, but it has painful truths to it, including the danger of quick judgments, thinking we know the answer, or as I called this reflection, the perils of first glances and certainty. We all know intellectually we shouldn't make assumptions, jump to conclusions, or pass judgment. Yet we can't help ourselves. Not because we're morally inferior, but because we actually have a biological disposition for bias. Unconsciously or preconsciously, our mind, and they can prove this now, it's phenomenal, we are constantly scanning the environment around us and asking, unaware to ourselves, am I safe? Do I belong? It takes intentional, deliberate, conscious, continuous effort to act differently and to have our minds not do that. Valerie Carr, in her book, See No Stranger, writes about how implicit bias affects us all. And the thing she says about it is that it robs us of our sense of wonder. Because you see, in needing to have certainty, in needing to pass judgment, in needing to make those decisions, we aren't surprised. We aren't affected. We aren't touched. We aren't moved. We are closed, certain, and flat. Losing this wonder, Carr writes, is the beginning of violence. Because we can't be curious and wonder-filled and awestruck when we're passing judgment, assigning meaning, and trying to ensure we know what's happening. That kind of false security is a lie. It doesn't make us any safer. It disconnects us from ourselves, each other, and wonder. Because we learn when we're open and humble enough to not know. Carr acknowledges the difficulty in changing these thoughts. As I said, it's literally wired into our brains. She offers a suggestion that works even in its simplicity. I've been trying it, and it's amazing. And this is what she says. When you see someone, especially if you don't know them, but I've tried it with folks I do know, and it still matters. But when you see someone you don't know, simply ask yourself, what did they have for dinner last night? I wonder. And all of a sudden, we open, and they become a person. Real. It's that simple and that profound. It interrupts a neurological thought process that's been ingrained in us for millennia. There are no strangers, Carr writes again and again in her book, only parts of myself I do not know yet. As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm the interconnected web of life. We affirm that each and every person around us is part of us, and science confirms that. This is not just a nice ideal. I believe that wonder, openness, and the willingness to know we don't know everything are all key aspects of resilience. So we can fool ourselves into thinking that being on guard and defended and all-knowing makes us resilient. My experience from my own life and many people, many others, is that those things, defenses, knowing all the answers, they make us very lonely and set apart. So our ministry theme this month is resilience. And yes, we knew what was going to be happening when we chose this theme. Not exactly, but we knew what would be happening. Here's the thing. Regardless of the outcome of the election and what happens this week, we are all going to be called to adapt, regardless. If the election goes as you hope, whatever way that is, you're going to need to adapt if you want to be the kind of person, I know I'm thinking about this, what kind of person do I want to be once that news is known? How do I want to respond? Online, to the people around me, to all of you? How about to those I'm in relationship with for who are having a different response to whatever that outcome is? If we don't think about that in advance, we run the risk of not acting as the people we want to be. And if it turns out differently than you hope, you'll need to adapt to that reality. So regardless, we're going to all need to adapt. The Mayo Clinic defines resilience as adaptability to adversity. I love that. It's so simple, and yet resilience as the adaptability to adversity. Resilience, the ability to change, refine, and sometimes even transform in response to challenge, large and small, personal and political. So what makes us resilient? Well, any number of things, but let's just think about the two that we heard in the tales that were shared this morning, because I think they're really important right now. And the first is remembering that we are always, ever, only seeing part of the story. And I can come at that from many different perspectives. We're only seeing part of the story because it's our experience, our perceptions. We're only seeing part of the story because we don't know what the future holds. We're only seeing part of the story because we're seeing it through our unconscious bias and limitations and presumptions. We're only seeing part of the story, touching part of the elephant. And the second thing is we don't really know the outcome of things as much as we think we do. Is it good? Maybe. Is it bad? Maybe. Is it both? Absolutely. So let's just think for the moment about the pandemic. There are so many losses, and there are gifts. And I say that with the utmost of respect because I know that the gifts are more abundant to some of us than to others. But just for myself, one of the things this pandemic has showed me is how incredibly resilient we are. It has also given me an ever deepening respect and appreciation and feeling of love for every single one of you and for this community. On a very personal note, I finally started writing things that I was going to be doing for decades. And I'm doing something I swore I would never do because I wasn't one of those people. I am watching a sitcom. I am, right, Bart? The gifts are big and small, and we don't really know what's happening or what will happen, or if what is happening is good or bad. So what does resilience look like for you today? What areas of your life are you being resilient in, and what areas are more challenging? And how about this question? Who is someone in your life that you either know or perhaps you read or follow, or who for you models resiliency? And what inspires you about them? These are the questions we'll be discussing shortly after the service on this Zoom gathering, and I hope everyone will join us. We need to stick together. We need to be willing to learn from one another and be open to what may come. I know these are challenging times. These are critically important days coming. So I bring to my mind the words of our Unitarian forebearer, Theodore Parker, when he said, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. I used to think that that was some inevitable outcome. Today, I understand that the power for that reality lies in our hands. Will the arc of the universe bend toward justice? Well, we can do what we can do. We can remember that we're contagious, both in good ways and in not so good ways. Do I still hold on to hope and trust and belief? Absolutely. Do I believe in the power of love? It's all I believe in. We're here. We're in this time together. Whatever comes, we're in this together. And we're going to come through it together. Amen.